Hello and good morning dear students. My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I am working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today in this video lecture, we shall be discussing the definitions and terminology with reference to Module 4. Module 4 is about reading skills. So we shall be talking about reading skills. There are different things which we shall be talking in this video lecture. Different key terms are there, different definitions are there, which are very essential and which align with Module 4 in your syllabus. So let's go with the definitions. The first term which I want to discuss with you is reading comprehension. What's reading comprehension? Reading comprehension is the ability to understand and interpret written text. When we talk about reading comprehension, first we need to know the meaning of comprehension. Comprehension is a word which came from comprehend. Comprehend means to understand anything. So reading comprehension means to understand any written text. When you are reading it, are you able to understand the text or not? So reading comprehension, it is the ability to understand and interpret written text. It's not only you are reading a text. So that cannot be called the comprehension. It's only comprehension when you are able to understand and interpret it. When you are able to understand the whole text, its meaning, its language, its grammatical structure, the idea which is there in the text. So when you are able to do that, when you are able to understand the text in that sense, that type of reading is called reading comprehension. It involves not only decoding words, but also grasping the meaning of text, making connections and drawing inferences. Now, reading comprehension is not only this thing that you are proficient in reading and we will call you that you have a good reading comprehension. No. Reading comprehension is not only, as I told you, to grasp the words, to read the words fluently. If you are a fluent reader or a proficient reader, you cannot be counted as a person who is good at comprehension. Comprehension is something advanced rather than reading a text. Comprehension means to read any text when you are understanding it, to interpret the meaning from the given text. When you are able to understand the meaning which is encoded in that text. So the proper decoding of the written text is called reading comprehension. So you should be able to know, when you are able to know the meaning of the text, when you are able to know the connections and drawing inferences, when you draw inferences from the text, like there is something which is beyond the lines, you are making your guesswork, predictions, and this prediction is not a random prediction. This prediction you are making on the basis of your understanding of the text. So when you understand the text, you are making some guesses, you are making some prediction, like what is beyond the lines, what may be the next step of this text, what may be the next dialogue or next argument regarding this text. So if you are able to do that thing, that means you are good at reading comprehension. So as I told you, it's not mere to read the words. It is to read the words and understand them well, and understand the meaning which is behind the words, and understand the meaning which is in between the lines and beyond the lines. Understand all the parameters which are responsible for the construction of a written text, which includes grammar, syntax, content, unity, coherence, cohesion. So all these things you should know. When you are master of all these things, you have a good reading comprehension then. Then the second term I would like to share with you is decoding. Decoding is the process of translating written or printed symbols into sounds and then understanding the meaning of those sounds. Decoding is very simple to understand. See, when we are communicating anything, I'm lecturing right, you right, I'm giving a lecture, I'm delivering a lecture right now, it's a kind of communication. I have certain ideas which I want to communicate to you. So this is a process of communication which is going on right now. Now this is formal communication, because we are having a proper, we are following a particular means, a particular code we are following. There is a particular there are particular rules which we are following, and this conversation is happening under certain restrictions. So this is a formal conversation which we are having right now. So every conversation has certain elements. Like there is a person who initiates the communication. Right now I have initiated the communication with you. So it's me who started the communication. I can be called the sender. Sender is the first element of every communication process. The second thing is encoding. See, now I am delivering a lecture to you. I have encoded my lecture. Encoding it contains language, it contains content, it contains awareness about the audience, it contains the atmosphere or the environment in which I am delivering my lecture. So while keeping in view all these parameters, I encode my lecture. I use English language here. Why did I use English language here, or why I am using English language here? Because I know my listeners and my audience is good or is comfortable with English language. If I use any other language which you cannot understand, that can result in the improper encoding. So then I chose a content, I chose certain examples, I chose a particular way of just lecturing you or delivering my lecture to you. So I have chosen a particular style because I know you people are comfortable with this manner of talking, with this style of listening a lecture. So if I chose any other format or any other style of my lecture, that cannot be understood by you. So that can be called as improper encoding of the lecture. So different parameters are there which we take in our mind when we are encoding any conversation. Now, encoding cannot be done without the prior knowledge of the audience. If I encode any message, I want to share it to any person, I need to keep in mind the perspective of that person, the understanding level of that person, the maturity level of that person, so that my message can be easily understood by him or her. Now, same is the case, we have another point that's called decoding. Decode means to decode a message in such a way as the sender of the message expects you to decode it. So decoding means to properly understand a message. For example, I am speaking 10 points to you here, or I am giving a lecture to you here. Now there are certain takeaways which I want you to take away from my lecture, which I want you to know from my lecture. Now, and I have encoded my lecture according to this criteria, because I want you to know these 10 points at the end of the lecture. So in that sense, I have encoded my lecture. Now my expectations are this. My expectations are like these. I want you to know these 10 points at the end of the lecture. So it is in this sense I encoded my lecture. Now you are decoding my lecture. Whatever I am speaking to you, you are decoding it. You are listening. What is your decoding process? You listen it and you interpret it. You try to understand it. You extract the meaning from these sounds. This is decoding you are doing. If you are able to just get those 10 points, that means my encoding is good and your decoding is also good. So decoding is not only to listen a lecture, or decoding a written text is not only to read a text. It means to understand a text. It means to convert these sounds into meanings. So it is a fundamental skill in reading, especially for breaking down unfamiliar words. Decoding is an important skill in reading, especially when we are breaking down the unfamiliar words. For example, you are reading any text, now you find there is any word which is totally unfamiliar to you. You do not know that word. You haven't come up with that word. So what you are doing, you are trying to decode that word. You are just deconstructing that word, or you are breaking that word into smaller elements, or a sentence into smaller elements, and you try to know the meaning of every sound, every word, every phoneme, or every morpheme in that word. Then we have fluency. What's fluency? Reading fluency is the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. Unfortunately, this word fluency is being misunderstood by the people. People mean by fluency that it means to read with speed. Reading with speed cannot be called fluency. If you have only one quality, that is you read with fluency, that cannot be called the exact fluency. Because fluency needs certain other elements. Fluency is not only to read with speed. Fluency is to read with speed and accuracy and proper expression. When you are reading a text, there is punctuation marks are used there. If there is a full stop, you need to stop there. You need to make a pause there. If there is comma, like I have used comma here, comma means a short pause, then full stop. It's not like you go like this. Reading fluency is the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. This is wrong. This text, it demands me to make a short pause here at speed, make a short pause here after accuracy, because there are two punctuation marks. So you can bring accuracy to your reading when you are following the reading parameters. There are certain reading parameters. One is like you need to stop. If there is a full stop used, you need to stop there. The other, you can bring accuracy to your text by certain other elements. If we are using the comma there, so then what we need to do, we need to make a short pause at wherever we are using comma. So a fluent reader can quickly recognize words, comprehend their meaning, and maintain a natural reading pace. A fluent reader, if you talk about a fluent reader can quickly recognize words. A reader who reads with the speed, reads with the accuracy, and with the proper expression, that reader can quickly recognize words. That reader can quickly comprehend the meaning of the written text, and that reader can only that reader can maintain natural reading pace. So this is what fluency in reality means. Then vocabulary. What's vocabulary? Vocabulary, it refers to set of words that a person is familiar with and understands. A rich vocabulary is crucial for effective reading, as it allows readers to comprehend and express ideas more precisely. One of the important points when it comes to reading is vocabulary. I would like to quote one quotation here. It is rightly said by someone that knowledge of words is the gate of scholar. Knowledge of words is the gate of a scholar. What does it mean? See, we all know scholars. The definition of scholar: a person who is knowledgeable, a person who is doing research, a person who has vast knowledge of a certain subject or a particular area of a subject. So in order to be a scholar, you must have the vast knowledge of words. You must have rich vocabulary. So it is the first step to become a scholar. The gate which you need to cross, which you need to enter through in order to be a scholar, in order to be a knowledgeable person. The gate is to have good vocabulary. So vocabulary, it refers to be familiar with a particular bunch of words. For example, if you know the meaning of lot of words, we can say you have good vocabulary, you have rich vocabulary. And now other person who is not knowing the words, who doesn't have the knowledge of words, we can say he's a person with poor vocabulary or a poor vocabulary. So rich vocabulary is very important for reading texts or for the reading. See, you are having a written text in front of you. Unfortunately, when your vocabulary is weak, you are not good at vocabulary, you cannot do justice with the written text. You cannot extract the meaning. You cannot understand the text. Why? The reason is this: you are not aware with the vocabulary. You don't know the meaning of different words which are used there in the written text. And there is one more thing. It's not only the surface meaning which your words are containing. See, words are having denotative meaning and connotative meaning is there. Sometimes a word may be having some figurative meaning. It is not the surface meaning or the literal meaning which the writer is talking about, or which the writer has used there in a written text. No, sometimes a word may have a figurative meaning. So you need to be aware with the vocabulary, with the meaning of different meanings of words. Then only you can understand a written text well. This is vocabulary. Vocabulary is much needed for reading. A person cannot be a good reader if he or she does not know, or if he or she does not have good vocabulary. The next point is critical reading. What is critical reading? Critical reading, it involves analyzing and evaluating a text, considering its arguments, evidence, and overall structure. Now, there are certain types of reading. Surface reading is there, extensive reading is there, intensive reading is there, and critical reading is there. Critical reading, it involves analyzing and evaluating a text. For example, you have a text in front of you. You are reading it. Your reading may be intensive or extensive. You may be reading in detail. You may be reading for fun, for pleasure. But these two types of readings cannot be counted as critical reading. Critical reading means when you are analyzing it, examining it, evaluating it in comparison with other texts. When you just totally measure the quality of the written text, as I told you, you are examining the text and you are considering its arguments, evidences, and overall structure. You are checking, you are analyzing its argument. What is the content there? What is the written text talking about? And you are also checking the evidence. What are the different proofs the writer has given you? As I told you, it is a critical reading. And then you are consulting some other book, some other source by other writer. And you are comparing both the texts. That is, you are going through the evidences. And whatever the arguments the writer has penned down in a text, you are just finding their evidences. Are they true? Are they correct? Is it really happening in the world? Or these are the personal ideas of the author? And you are analyzing the overall structure of a text. What is the structure of a text? It's not surface reading, because it goes beyond surface level understanding to assess the author's intent and the validity of the information presented. It's not surface level understanding. Okay, you are reading a text and you understood it. That is surface level understanding. But critical understanding is to validate a point, to validate an argument, to check its evidence, to examine it, and then after a thorough study of different sources on a particular text, when you understand it, when your mind accepts it, that's called critical reading. Then another point is skimming. What is skimming? Skimming is a rapid reading technique where the reader quickly glances through a text to get a general sense of its content. And it's often used to preview material or find specific information without reading every word. Skimming. There are certain techniques of reading. One among them is skimming. I would like to just give an example of newspaper. See, skimming is the reading which is done for getting a gist of a written text. We are having newspapers. Now, unfortunately, the habit of reading newspapers is decaying now. It has gone now. So we should stay connected with reading the newspapers. I'm not just endorsing any newspaper, or I'm not promoting any newspaper, But I just want to tell you, if we read newspapers in the morning, no doubt we will be updated with all the current happenings in the world, in our country, in our society. But at the same time, it can nourish our reading habit. What I can see nowadays in the classes, when I visit number of colleges, number of universities, when I see their students, this reading habit is decaying in the students. You will see students that are having good grades, their grades are very bright, attractive, but unfortunately, if you tell them to read anything, they are struggling with the reading. They cannot read fluently, they cannot read accurately, they cannot show their real expression when it comes to reading. So this habit of reading newspapers, it has gone now out of our lives. It's better if we stay tuned with reading newspapers. For one, if you may not be interested with the news elements, with the columns, with certain articles in the newspaper, if it gives you nothing, it can nourish your reading habit. So skimming is just reading for the gist, reading for the main idea. So when we are reading the newspaper, we do not go with all the news columns there, and when we are reading a particular news element or any particular news, we are not reading the whole news. We quickly read it. We are just quickly finishing it in order to get the gist of that news, or in order to get the gist of that article which is there in the newspaper. So it is a rapid reading. It is a quick reading. It is a fast reading technique where we do not pay more attention to every word. Rather than we are paying attention to get the gist of that text which we are reading. So this is what we call as skimming. Then we have the second technique of reading, that is scanning. Scanning is the process of quickly searching a text for specific information or keywords. It involves moving the eyes rapidly over the text to locate relevant details while ignoring unrelated material. Scanning means to quickly move your eyes over a written text when you are searching for a particular information. It means to avoid the unrelated details and only to follow or only to locate the exact details or required details. I would like to give you the example of phone directory. There is a phone directory or directory. Both the pronunciations are correct. So in the phone directory, there are hundreds of contact numbers written. Now you are trying to find your own contact number. Now when you are having a directory in front of you, do you read all the phone numbers there? No. Yes, of course, we are not reading all the phone numbers. Then what are we doing? We are moving our eyes in order to just locate the phone number which belongs to us. I would like to give one more example. The catalog. You are going to the bookshop in order to purchase a book. Now the bookseller gives you a catalog of all the books which he is having in his library or in his shop. So you are just moving your eyes over the written material there in that catalog, because you are not interested with all the books which that bookstall contains. You are finding the required book. You are finding the book which you want to purchase. Or other menu cards. There are a lot of items written. We are not reading all the items. We are just searching the exact or the required item which we want. So this is called scanning. It's a scanning process. We are just moving our eyes to locate the required information. Then there is another thing, inference. What is inference? It is the ability to draw conclusions or make educated guesses based on information that's not explicitly stated in the text. Skilled readers use context clues and their background knowledge to infer meaning. So inference is the ability to draw conclusions. Now you are reading a text, you read a text. Now you want to draw a conclusion from that text. You want to just extract a message from that text. And you want to make a guess. But this guess is not a random guess, it's an educated guess. By educated guess, I mean it is the guess which is based on the information which you have read in the text. It's not a random guess. Somebody has told you there is a paragraph about climate change. Now he or she is asking you, what can be the conclusion of that text? So without reading, you cannot draw the conclusion. You cannot make the guess. You cannot predict anything. So what do I mean by educated guesses? Educated guesses means when you thoroughly read that. So based on the information you read, then you are making a guess. So skilled readers use context clues and their background knowledge to infer meanings. Now a good reader, skillful reader, can make these inferences based on his previous knowledge and based on the context clues. When you read a context, there are different clues written there. There are different hints written there. These hints can be translated, can be understood by a skillful reader only. Then text structure. What is text structure? Text structure it refers to the way in which a written work is organized. Understanding text structure, it helps readers make predictions, identify main ideas, and follow the flow of information within a text. Text structure is the structure in which a written text is organized. And now to understand a text structure, it helps readers to make predictions, identify main ideas, and follow the flow of information within a text. So this text structure, as I told you, it means that structure in which a text is written or is organized. Now to understand the text structure, why should we understand the text structure? Because it helps a reader to make predictions, to identify the main ideas, and follow the information within a text. See, the text structure, it may be like this. A text may contain introduction, it may contain the body, and it may contain the conclusion. So the body is divided in other several paragraphs. So by going through the structure, by going through this organized structure, you come to know, or you can make predictions, and you can identify the main ideas, and you can follow the flow of information within a text. Then the next term which I want to discuss with you is reading engagement. Reading engagement is the extent to which a reader is involved, interested, and motivated while reading. Reading engagement is the extent, is the level, is the degree to which a reader is engaged in a text, interested in a text, and involved in a text while reading it. Engaged readers are more likely to comprehend and retain information. It's always better to be an engaged reader, to be an involved reader, interested reader, motivated reader. Why? Why should you be an involved reader? Because you can comprehend a text, and there are chances that you can retain the information in your mind for the future references. So engaged reader, it's better to be an engaged reader so that we can easily comprehend a text and we can retain the information. Then there is another technique of reading, that is intensive reading. Intensive reading is focused and meticulous approach to reading. It is focused when you are reading with concentration, with a particular focus, and a meticulous approach where you want to extract something from the written text. So where the reader delves deeply into a text to extract detailed information and gain a thorough understanding of its content. So this method, it involves close examination of vocabulary. So I would like to just first discuss on intensive reading. So intensive reading is that reading where a reader delves in the written material, where a reader involves himself, submerges himself in a written text, where a reader is doing thorough reading of a text, detailed reading of a text, and it involves close examination of vocabulary. It is that reading where a reader is always trying to know the meaning of all the words, where the reader tries to know what is the sentence structure followed in a written text, where the reader tries to know all the specific details, and often with the goal of language acquisition or in-depth comprehension, where a reader tries to achieve his or her goal, and where a reader goes with the in-depth comprehension. So this is intensive reading. Intensive reading is focused and meticulous approach. It is the detailed reading of a text. It is the reading where you try to extract the information and gain a thorough understanding of the text. It is the reading where you evaluate or examine the vocabulary, sentence structure, all the other specific details of a written text. Then we have another technique, that is extensive reading. Extensive reading, it is a reading approach that involves reading a large quantity of text. Quantity of text is for overall comprehension and enjoyment. So it is that text. Extensive reading is that reading which involves a large quantity of texts for overall comprehension and enjoyment. It is reading for fun. It is reading which is done to pass the time, to get entertainment. So this method enhances vocabulary. If you are doing extensive reading, it can enhance your vocabulary, it can increase your reading fluency or improves fluency, and it cultivates a love for reading by encouraging individuals to explore diverse genres and topics at their own pace. Then the next point which I want to discuss with you is figurative language. What is a figurative language? Figurative language involves the use of words or expressions with a meaning that is different from the literal interpretation. Figurative language involves the use of words or expressions with a meaning that, see, when we use words, words can have meaning of two types. One is literal meaning and there is figurative meaning. There are certain words which creates figures in your mind. So that usage of language is called figurative language. A word can have a literal meaning and it can have a figurative meaning. Literal meaning is the surface meaning. Figurative meaning is beyond the surface meaning. Figurative language, it creates figures in the minds of readers. Then we have another technique which I want to just discuss with you, that is simile. It's a figure of speech. What is simile? It is a figure of speech in which two different things are explicitly compared using the words like or as. So simile is a figure of speech in which we compare two words to unsimilar words with the help of words like or as. So with the help of words like and as, when we make comparison between two unlike things, ideas, objects, persons, so we call that comparison simile. Like there is a comparison, he is as brave as a lion. So the comparison is here with the help of as. So this comparison is called simile. Or I can say Rahul is like a tiger. When I mean Rahul is like a tiger, this doesn't mean Rahul is a tiger. This means Rahul is powerful, he is brave, like tiger. See here I compare Rahul with this animal tiger, with the quality of the quality of bravery which we see, or with the quality of power which we see in this animal. Here we compare this quality with the Rahul with the help of like. So this is called simile. When we make comparison between two unsimilar things, ideas, objects or persons with the help of like or as, we call this comparison simile. Then there is metaphor. It's another figure of speech that implies a comparison between two unrelated things. Two unrelated things suggesting that they share common characteristics. We make comparison between two unrelated things, people, persons, etc., which suggest that they share some common characteristic without like or as. So we are not now using here like or as. Like time is a thief. See, time is a thief. Thief is someone who steals something from you, who robs something. So we have here made the comparison between time and thief, because time is like a thief. Time snatches everything from you, and we are not just recognizing or realizing those things. So time has been compared with the thief without the use of like or as. So we call this comparison as metaphor. I would like to go with one example, with the same example, like Rahul is a tiger. Again, The characteristic of bravery in Rahul and Tiger has been compared without like or as. So this kind of comparison is called metaphor. So then we have another term, that is personification. Personification means attributing human qualities or characteristics to non-human entities. When we give human qualities, human characteristics to non-human entities or abstract concepts, that's called personification. For example, the wind whispered through the trees. The wind is non-living, it's non-human. So wind cannot whisper. It is humans who can whisper. This is an human attribute to whisper. But when we give this human attribute to non-human entities, we call it personification. Or we can say the wind is dancing. Wind cannot dance. It is the human attribute to dance. So such kind of attribute giving to the such kind of human attribute giving to non-humans is called as personification. Then we have next hyperbole. What's hyperbole? It's exaggerating or overstating something for emphasis or effect. Now, to exaggerate or overstate something for emphasis. For example, I am giving you certain directions. Now, if I speak them many a times, that means I am exaggerating that. So, I exaggerate that in order to have a certain impact on you, certain effect on you. Such kind of technique is called hyperbole. Example is, I have told you 1,000,000 times. 1,000,000 times means I am exaggerating it. Then we have another term, it's onomatopoeia. What's onomatopoeia? That is the use of words that imitate the sound they describe. The use of words which imitate the sound which they describe. Like there is a word buzz. It imitates the sound which it describes, and there is murmur, clang. Then alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of closely positioned words in a sentence or phrases. Example, so alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of a closely positioned words. See, Sally sells seashells by the seashore. We have the repetition of sir, sir, sir. This is called alliteration. Then we have assonance. It is a repetition of vowel sounds, like we have a, rain, Spain. We have this a in rain and Spain. So then we have another term, that is irony. Irony is a figure of speech where the intended meaning is opposite to the literal meaning. It has the literal meaning is it is opposite to the intended meaning. The example is a fire station burning down. So it has an opposite meaning. Time is not allowing me to just elaborate these things. Then we have oxymoron. Oxymoron is when we use two opposite terms together. For example, if I tell you loving hate, or if I tell you waking dreams, loving hate, see, these are opposite terms. Love is to love someone and hate is the opposite of love. To use two opposite terms each other, so we call this oxymoron. Then waking dream is another example. Symbolism is to use symbols which represent ideas, which represent certain ideas or qualities in a written text. Then allusion is, it is an indirect inference to a person, place, thing of any historical importance. Then what is speed reading? Speed reading is a technique that aims to increase reading speed without sacrificing comprehension. To read with speed. And then we have cognitive process. I discussed this yesterday. Then we have literal comprehension in reading. Literal comprehension, it involves what the author is actually saying. Then importance of detailed reading. What is the importance of detailed reading? If we do the detailed reading, we can understand the whole text. We can understand the whole text with all its meaning and grammatical structure. Inferential comprehension. Inferential comprehension is reading between the lines about the things not stated directly. It is the reading which we are doing about those things which are not directly mentioned in the text. Such kind of reading is called inferential reading. Now, what are the strategies of speed reading? One strategy is to make prediction. Other is to figure out the main idea. Next is to make connections. Next is organize the thoughts. Organize the thoughts, stop and summarize. Then what is critical comprehension? It's a high level of comprehension that requires the reader to use his or her experience in order to evaluate the quality values of the writing. High level of comprehension, where a writer evaluates the text by his experience. So this is all for today's lecture. I have discussed all the key terms related to module 4th. I hope you all have understood it well. If you want some extra or detailed information on the text, on these terms, these are the sources. You can go with the sources. They will help you to understand something more regarding the content. So here I would like to stop. Thank you. Thank you for listening me carefully.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.